Test. All right. Good morning. It is February 17th, 2025, also known as President's Day. My wife and kid are both sleeping in today because I don't have to do anything. But I am up bright and early this morning to hang out with you guys on the stream. Again, my name's Keith, and I created this stream for people who are in the job search, specifically in tech, most specifically in development, programmers. But there are definitely some information for all job seekers on the stream. So, welcome. I broadcast Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, where we talk about job trends in tech, and the news, and what else ever pops up. It's Monday. What did you get done this weekend? Did you get any applications out? Did you get anything out? Did you get up Sunday morning? Look for some job postings, new, fresh ones, and submit it and get in the top of the stack there. That's where you want to be. The top of the digital stack of resumes. Okay. I repositioned my microphone, so hopefully the sound is a little tighter, a little crisper. Sound is my whole career been my big Achilles heel. I always liked to be in a project where we were paying a sound guy, because that took a lot of stress off of my shoulders. So, I've been a professional developer for over 30 years, and we're going to talk tech. So let's jump into it. So I track the job trends every day. And the way that I do it is I go to Indeed.com and I filter for the last 24 hours to see kind of the freshest number of job postings. And I've been logging that for over 900 days. And this is useful because it gives me a trend line about where the industry is. So if we look at the last 7 days, there's a slight tick up, but it's pretty flat. And in the last 6 months, we see a nice trend line heading in the right direction there. But again, after a nice start of the year, everything just has been flat and slightly up. You know, if we look at the last month, for sure, there's a slight uptick, but in the last year, still a bit of a downtick there, but that's going to even out as we get farther into spring. And again, for the first time in as long as I've been tracking it, maybe, this line has been a lot farther down. The fact that it's leveling off, I think it's a good sign, where there are some indications that things are getting better, and companies are on track to do more hiring. But just as that's the case, we'll see in the headlines today that layoffs are persistent. They're not going away. We saw the story last week, a couple of stories last week about Meta laying off people. Another round of layoffs at Meta. And they, they've done many rounds of layoffs over at Meta. So, that'll be interesting. Is that another indication of big tech is doing a more series of rounds of layoffs? I don't know. Isn't the Band-Aid ripped off yet? Oh, yeah. So frustrating. Okay. More granularly, I keep saying that in the wrong way. More granularly, the numbers across the board for all JavaScript jobs in the U.S. Again, flat in the last week and a half, but the nice trend line heading up for sure. These are remote jobs in the United States. With all this talk of work from home, we're still seeing an uptrend. It's not as steep, but we're seeing an uptrend. Mid-level, entry-level, and senior-level roles. The senior level and the mid-level are, trending up but flat in the last 2 weeks like everything else. This one's been really weird. It had that huge spike in January, and then that's odd. I have to, something about that doesn't seem right. And then entry level, mid level, and senior level remote roles also trending up, but mostly mid level roles. Mid-level roles. Interesting. Okay, so again, I go to Indeed and use Indeed because I can use these filters at the top to really slice and dice the data to get the graphs that I do, create the graphs that I do, but it is representative of about 15 to 20% of all the job postings. That is statistically enough, so we can get some good trend lines out of that. That's been my focus. I'm on LinkedIn. If you haven't connected, there should be a link. I don't know if I had the link to YouTube, but there's a link on Twitch, and of course, if you're watching me on LinkedIn, then please connect. I was looking to grow my network of technologists, people in technology, and I'm on LinkedIn, 10 times a day. So, but it has a nice little news feed. Oftentimes, there are stories in there that are of interest to us in the tech community. So I always like to hit that. Elon made the announcement yesterday, I think, that there's going to be a launch of Grok 3 today. So that, as the AI world turns, that's going to be much talked about. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, everybody will be looking at it and talking about it. I really have not played with Grok very much. Again, not much of an X user. And when it did launch, I did see a whole bunch of stuff that was coming out of it, and I didn't seem like it was. I'm generally speaking not interested in. I have not really run into an issue in my AI interactions with Claude and ChatGPT about it saying, I can't do that. Everything I ask for, I get, but I'm not asking it how to build a bomb or do a bunch of shady nonsense either. So, I suppose if I were interested in doing shady stuff, that might be my model of choice, but I'm good with the ones I got. So, so where are you guys on the fence in terms of AI models? What do you use the most? ChatGPT, Claude, some other tools. Put it in the chat, and we can chat about it. What's next? Numbers to watch this week. Following the President's Day holiday, key housing data this week, including residential construction and existing home sales, will provide a snapshot of activity in the sector at a time when mortgage rates and home prices remain elevated. Meanwhile, the Fed will release the minutes from its January meeting, potentially offering insights into the interest rate policy. And Walmart's earnings on February 20th are likely to be watched for signs of how inflation is affecting consumer demand. Yeah. Yeah, there's some numbers in there that we'll probably be talking about by the end of the week for sure. DeepSeek bans gain steam. South Korea has suspended all downloads of the Chinese AI company's chatbot over concerns that the app doesn't comply with the laws about protecting personal information. In response, lawmakers in countries in the U.S., Austria, Italy, and Taiwan have introduced measures meant to bar DeepSeek from government devices. So is that DeepSeek it's got to be, well, just DeepSeek the web app. Probably not just running it locally. The open source version. I don't know. On one hand, it doesn't make sense if they were like, you can't run the model locally, but these people regulating don't really know what they're doing anyway, so. Yeah. Yeah, tech industry has been largely immune to mass layoffs, but as more companies make cuts, tech workers are realizing that their once stable career path might be on shakier ground. As a result, even the rank and file workers who survive layoffs are reevaluating how much time and energy to give to a company with the understanding that job security and trust in an employer are no longer guaranteed. Wow, there's a lot wrong with that whole paragraph. The tech industry is, just as subject, if not more subject to layoffs than other industries. Because again, as an industry, we might be heading in a certain situation like Web3 or like AR and VR, and then all of a sudden, all the hype dies down, and it turns out nobody wants to buy those products, and guess what? A bunch of people get laid off. Like, those kind of things happen in tech all the time. So, I don't know what that means. And, the chicken or the egg problem of the companies stop caring about their employees, so then the employees stop caring about their companies they work for. So then the companies don't want to invest in the individuals. I don't know. This is, this is an industry where, companies poach from other companies all the time. You encourage upward mobility by switching jobs. You encourage it because you're going to pay more for somebody who comes from another company than your own employees, right? In terms of raises and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that's been the rule, certainly in the developer space. yeah. And again, you know, it's my job to do my job. It's your job as a company to figure out what my job is and what the needs are of the company, right? If the company doesn't need my services anymore, I'm going to find myself out of work one way or another, whether it's layoffs or forced resignations or whatever it happens to be. But, uh, if you don't have good management who doesn't get the best out of me and the most out of me, and you make some policies that may or may not feel like, my work is being valued, especially in Texas where I live. It's an at-will state. Anybody can quit. Anybody can let go. That's just the way the world works. So, I don't see, without having read the Washington Post report, that seems like a mess on the face. Amazon workers reject the union in North Carolina. These are warehouse employees. It's been interesting how, these tech industry software developers, SaaS developers, they've been pretty immune to the whole union thing. Because every once in a while it would come up, and it would never go anywhere. Because again, in general, we're paid better than the average bear, and whatever complaints we might have, just are struggling against, again, like, we're paid well, and we're in an environment, we're not out digging a ditch. It's a pretty good gig, right? But then these tech and agencies, they wanted to get into the real world, so they started building SaaS that managed taxi services, and they started selling products not just virtually, but in person, and on scales that just hadn't been seen before. And all those interactions with the real world, then they get into areas where it's not, out of the ordinary to have unions involved. And so when you're talking about warehouse workers, we got hundreds of years of history of unions and warehouse workers. So it's interesting that this stuff comes up, but in the way it does. I don't know too much about how union the North Carolina is. I haven't been to. Have I been to North Carolina? I don't think I've been to North Carolina. I have not really done much of the East Coast at all, Florida aside. But yeah, I don't know. Generally, you think of the Northeast as being very union friendly. There's a long history of it. But that's interesting. Vision Pro will reportedly get Apple Intelligence as soon as April. This is a headline? Okay. I suppose. Okay. What is all the buzz? How about Nintendo's alarm clock? I remember when this was first announced, and I had the news cycle for like 4 hours, but and then I promptly forgot about it. But evidently, it's continued to be a thing. But they've been rolling it out in different countries, and I guess we're gonna see it in the United States. Yeah, that's funny. All right, so I like to look at the Google News, um, check technology and AI more specifically. Yep, DeepSeek story. A lot of people covering that. AP, New York Times, the BBC. New York Times goes all in on internal AI tools. Okay. Will AI create a digital democracy or a Silicon Valley oligarchy? I think we know the answer to that, don't we? Didn't we figure that out a long time ago? I mean, one of the things when I got started in the early to mid 90s, the idea of the digital divide, you know, the people of the upper middle class and the wealthy are going to have access to the internet, and the poor are not going to have the same access, and as a result, there's going to be a widening of the technological literacy and access to the greatest education tool and connection tool that there has ever been created, right? And we heard a lot about that. Oh, there's paradigm shifts here and paradigm shifts there. But that digital divide, my first job professionally as a programmer was for a company that focused on that. Now, because of mobile and how cheap mobile is, even the poorest people have access to the internet. What they do with it, it's another story. How much you can get out of it with just a mobile screen, I don't know. I do not know. What else we got? Novo Nordisk, among the best stocks to buy right now. The drug industry is having its own DeepSeek moment. That's 10 days ago. That's not a fresh article. It's not just AI. China's medicines are surprising the world too. U.S. investors in Big Pharma race to find new medicines in China. Interesting. Animals lose cognitive abilities with age, just like humans, the study finds. Alright. I mean, I've seen reports about the plateauing of the model, and there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about why that is. That over time, the model comes out strong, and then it slowly degrades, but it's a very flat line. But age-related doesn't make a whole lot. I don't know. I don't know what that means. 6 hours ago, Elon Musk money can't buy OpenAI. OpenAI rejects. This is 3 days ago. Could Musk damage OpenAI even if his $100 billion bid fails? All right, yeah. We talked a little bit about that last week. Yeah. I saw this article this week from a news. Oh, no. What it was is Bill Maher. I saw Bill Maher on Friday, and Bill Maher talked about the AI girlfriend experience. This is the embodied version, of course, but his take on it was pretty interesting. He, he would clearly be on the wrong side of and on the opposite side of that. But he was also quick to point out that he's like, I don't judge. Like, this is a new generation. I grew up in a time when, you had to go through the ringer to get yourself a girlfriend, and it meant putting you out there and risking yourself. Now, everything's going to be a lot easier because the AI is just going to be as supportive as it can be and not challenging. But I'm sure, you know, uh, it's interesting. With billions at stake, the Trump administration scrubs federal CHIPS contracts for the words like diversity and immigrant. That was a week ago. Trump wants to revisit chip-making grants. What's next for the CHIP Act after reports the Trump administration may renegotiate terms? FDA foot dragging might have saved your hands, and you never knew it. 19 hours ago. U.S. Health Department layoffs expand to Medicare and FDA. You know. Copyright battles loom over artists and AI. Interesting. This is 2 days ago. I think that was the same day that Firefly, Adobe's Firefly was dropped. Was that on Friday or Thursday? I don't remember. And I haven't played with it yet, but the demo videos look really pretty dang cool. And it is, as they say, the only ethical image and video generating AI because they paid for licensing. They licensed the training materials from physical artists. So they're from human beings. The training is from humans, and it's from content that's been licensed from those artists or really platforms that have paid the artist something. So it's the most ethically sourced visual AI, as they say. But I haven't played with it yet. I've used Photoshop and its generative tools. I tried playing with Illustrator's generative tools, and I was not happy with the output. I get what they were kind of going for there, but I really had higher hopes for I don't know. Like all these models, the thing about all these models is you have a bad experience, and then you're like, yeah, I don't want to use that again, or I don't want to use it for that again. And then new models come out, and oftentimes we get stuck with that, like, it doesn't do this very well because I've tried this, but like every 6 months, these things are being refreshed and having new abilities. So. Just because it didn't, like, I was thinking about this last week where I was like, I tried to get it to write some code a year ago for a project, and it completely and utterly failed. It was a total disaster. It didn't give me any useful code. Kept giving me a lot of code, but nothing useful. And so I shelved that project. I didn't finish it. And I was just thinking about this week. I should probably revisit that and see if AI's new embodiment inside a cursor and other tools like that are getting better from a context and standpoint. I'm still not going to build a huge application with it, but for small prototypey and small single feature applications, it's pretty good at being very assistive, if not in some instances generating all the code. I'm working on a project this last week that I launched, and I'd say 80% of the code was generated by AI. But it's small and focused, doesn't have a whole database or API connected to it. It's just a simple app. And that 20% was mostly design stuff, because AI still sucks at writing CSS and design code. So mostly with me sort of just tweaking the responsiveness of it and making sure that it was taking care of business. Google Chrome may soon use AI to replace compromised passwords. That's from 6 days ago. I didn't see that before. AI-powered security feature rolls out for everyone. Chrome may offer to automatically change your passwords compromised in data breaches. Not sure what I think about that. I mean, I don't think it probably would be bad, but I put passwords in two buckets. One bucket is this, they want me to create an account and log in so they can track my UGC or something like that, but I'm not putting my banking information in there. They're not connecting to anything where they could get anything sensitive or that. If it's just in a create an account because we want to, put some cookies on your computer and send you an email from a newsletter or something like that. I have a dumb password that I use on every website that I just don't care about. And then there's the other bucket where it does have sensitive information sometimes. Then I create unique passwords for each one of those platforms. But yeah, that would be it'd be a pain for me because that dumb password gets leaked onto the dark web all the time because it's on these low. I use it for these low, probably secure applications, and as a result, they get hacked more, and there's data gets out there on the. I get those notices like everybody else. We found your email in this data breach, and it contained passwords and stuff. And again, that one dumb one that I use for everything, it's all over the place out there. So if it just started forcing every one of those things I signed up for with that dumb password to be to generate new passwords, that's going to be a problem. Google use AI to automatically change passwords. Asian stocks lose momentum. South Korea plans to secure 10,000 GPUs for an AI computing center. Especially that since there's so much of our so many of our AI models now that are open source, that these countries that normally wouldn't be able to join the fun are, being able to just set up the hardware and then just run these open source models. It'll be interesting. There we go. Lonely men are creating AI girlfriends and taking their violent anger out on them. Yeah, okay. When you have technology that gives people what they want, there's a lot of people that want some stuff that's pretty shifty. Yeah, welcome to the world. Men are proving they don't deserve access to AI girlfriends. 6 days ago. The AI news is in the mind of men, of boys. Into the dark world of AI abuse where men insult and hit their replica girlfriends. As experts warn, it's... Yeah, I mean... well, I mean, in one sense, it's the video game argument, right? They're using violent video games. They're learning how to, go in and do mass shootings. They're running these simulations over and over again, and it's going to turn them into, violent criminals. I mean, we've been hearing that as long as there have been video games, right? And so the argument is, again, you know, they're practicing misogyny, being mean, insultive, abusive to their AI girlfriend. And then if and when they ever get a real girlfriend, that's how they'll treat them. That's your argument. It's interesting. We live in interesting times, as they say. I have not tried any of the AI girlfriends. Yeah, that seems like a lot of work. I hear these people that are, I watch these videos and stuff, and they're all talking about, oh, the new versions of agents are coming out. Oh, try this agent, try that agent. I've, fired my part-time person and created an AI agent to do their job. You see all these videos on YouTube all the time. And I'm like, especially in the entrepreneur space, there's all these entrepreneurs saying, like, I have the team of 5 because I've created these agents, a marketing agent, a sales agent, all kinds of things. And now I'm running this company of all virtual employees. And every time I think about that idea of like getting a virtual assistant as an AI, now I'm in the management role. I never wanted to be in the management role in the first place. I'm a production guy. I do the producing. I do the work. So just stepping back and managing an AI, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a good fit for me. So I haven't really tried much in the way of these agentic things. I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually because there's just being tons of money poured into it right now. OpenAI tries to uncensor ChatGPT. Okay. Reddit mods are fighting to keep AI slop off subreddits. They could use help. Like it or not, AI is learning how to influence you. What do you mean? That's dumb. That's a dumb clickbaity headline. AI is not learning anything. It's not doing any influencing without the direction of some human. Other than, if there's bias in the training set, then there's going to be bias in the responses, and then that bias might do it, but it's not like AI is doing that thing. It's just the way that models work. Garbage in, garbage out. And it was trained on the internet. So, garbage. All right, how the job applications coming? We got about 20 minutes left. Talk a little bit more about these news stories. And then we'll wrap it up and go over the numbers again. But it is Monday. Let's see. It always depresses the numbers the following day when we have a holiday. So we'll see if we're going to dip again because of the holiday. But it'll be interesting to keep track of that. I'll be tracking it every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Streaming on Twitch and YouTube and LinkedIn. If you know anybody else who's in the job search in the tech space, please feel free to share this with them. The more the merrier. And, if this channel starts popping on one of those platforms or all, and we start seeing a lot more people in the chat, more open to keeping this into to transitioning into a more conversational stream, putting your questions in the chat, your comments in the chat, and having a dialogue about that. Lots of things to talk about when we get into these technology stories. 3 defense stocks that could be the next Palantir. was just telling me a mutual connection of ours just went to work for Palantir. Oh, yeah. Um, I don't know the person, but friend of a friend. And so they're hiring over there too. Couldn't personally work there, wouldn't be interested, but that is a sector that's growing. Austin has been a tech hub for a long time, but they call themselves the center of innovation in Austin, Capital Factory. The last 2 or 3 years, they've gotten increasingly in bed with military, Army, primarily, I think. They've taken over one of the floors at Capital Factory for the military contractors and subcontractors. And the Army, I think, has offices there to recruit tech talent to be working within the government. And they do a big show every South by Southwest. The last 2 years, I think, the bulk of the content has been through their military connections. And they got some sort of guff about it a little bit early on, but most of it died down. And in general, I'm for diversity in terms of the kind of companies that are represented in here. That's going to help us, weather any downturns in a specific sector. If we've got, oil and gas and med tech and military and all these different industries and their tech wings, if they're in Austin, that helps kind of keep an even keel on things if we're not too dependent on one specific industry. Microsoft denies AI talent leak to China's DeepSeek. At least 4 researchers who worked at Microsoft China's AI research institute contributed to creating. Okay. Hadn't seen that story. Well, again, this is a revolving door thing too. We talked about companies need to invest a lot in you when they hire you, financial wise and time wise. And we've talked about this in the past. When they go through layoffs, the amount of institutional knowledge that's lost in that process. When you let go of somebody who's been with you 3 years or 5 years, they understand a lot more about your industry. Maybe 6 months, you're going to have to hire somebody back for that role again. And now they come in fresh. They don't know the history. They don't know the industry very well. And you got to upskill them again. That's more expensive. It's harder to quantify, but it's expensive stuff. And the loss of that institutional knowledge means you're more likely to cause the same problems again, right? So it's interesting. Can't AI think of better names for itself? I've seen a couple of these kind of articles in the last year, and it's absolutely true. AI, which is all over the press and the news, just has a lousy branding. It's because these tech companies, non-Apple tech companies, they're just not that interested in the design aspect of it. And that includes naming it. Like, what are you going to call this thing? Grok. Okay. ChatGPT. What are these names all about? So, Sam came out on Friday, or announced on Friday on Twitter, that they were going to be overhauling the UI of ChatGPT to make it less confusing in terms of which models to choose. I never changed the model on ChatGPT. I don't get into that level of granularity in terms of quality of models and which ones better at what. Uh, and I use ChatGPT 6 days a week probably. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for sure. Yeah. Toward clustering. Scientists unveil AI that learns without human labels. A major leap toward true. I saw a video about this announcement, and they explained it. I didn't. I need to watch another video on it and read one of these articles because it was basically saying that they found a way for the model to do more thinking before it outputs tokens. I don't know what that means exactly. It didn't quite click. I gotta watch another video about it. Okay, I think Eric Schmidt's got a book coming out. He's doing the rounds. Rogue states could use AI to do real harm. Yeah. AI mirror. How to reclaim our humanity in the age of machine thinking. Reclaim our humanity. As AI becomes more human-like, what will happen to humanity? Human-like. Human-like. So what's your estimation? When do you think AGI is going to be here? 12 months, like Sam says. 5 years. What does AGI look like to you? NVIDIA stock has been on a roll. Let's see what that says over there. Okay, Generative Machine introduces new AI-generated open-source 5-axis desktop 3D printer. A 5-axis? I've seen a 4-axis 3D printer. FFF. What is FFF? Fused filament fabrication. FFM. Come on, see some video. Come on, you gotta show video of a 5-axis printer. That's pretty cool. I tested 10 AI contact detectors. These 3 clicked and identified AI text every time. Artificial intelligence pollutes web with fake info, bogus images, data often more convincing than reality itself. 3 days ago. Same article being written over and over. AI slop is flooding the internet. Tell us how artificial intelligence affected your work. How has artificial intelligence affected my work? It's made my emails better. It's made any formal writing that I do better. It's made coding. It's affected the coding in a number of ways because it's a great teaching tool. and learning tool. And then personally, I continue to play with writing code in conjunction with the AI. And it's, pretty good at writing. I was talking to somebody about this the other day that these, AI tools like Claude Artifacts and V0 and Replit, they're getting a lot better at doing simple applications for primarily prototyping, unless it's just a simple project or whatever. And people come to me with no coding experience, and they ask about, how much can I really do with this? And I'm starting to, phrase it like, if you go to somebody who is capable of building applications, they've got experience doing it, they've done it professionally in the past, and you ask them to do your app, and they tell you it's going to, they could do it in a weekend or in a day, then it's probably pretty straightforward and not too far afield from all tons of well-documented code that's out there. And as a result, the AI is going to be pretty good, if not right on top of building an application that solves that particular problem, right? With just interactions. Because again, like, they tend to lean into frameworks, and those frameworks are very much kind of like Lego bricks. And so it just looks for the combination of Lego bricks that it takes to build the application, right? And but if they're like, oh, this is going to take 3 months or 6 months, or it's going to take a team of 3 developers and database person and all that, you're probably not going to get as good a final result for that project, if at all. And so, your goal should be to scale back your application to an MVP, or do a version of it that really is just focused on UI and not so much functionality. So you can kind of mock up what the application looks like and how users would interact with it. You can do that kind of stuff in spades. It's all super valuable. And at the end of the day, that particular code might not be useful to you in terms of the specifics, but being able to mock up an interface, show it with other team members, show it with other stakeholders, and get feedback and iterate quickly that way, and then hand that final result off to a programmer who can sort of build out a more complex project that has connections with APIs and databases all over the place. So it's getting more capable, but you have to learn the limitations. So iterative development with AI is the key. Asking for a feature, making sure it works, asking for another feature. If you overload it and give it too many instructions, you're more likely to get something that doesn't give you what you want, right? How are we doing? 5 minutes. Okay. Chinese medicines. Keytruda, a cancer immunotherapy medicine, ranks among the most lucrative drugs ever sold since it was launched in 2014. It's ranked in 130 billion sales for Merck. Interesting. Animals lose cognitive abilities with age, just like humans. See, why do they gotta add that? Just like humans. They don't do it just like humans. They they do it. The end result may be the same, but how it gets there is probably very different. My guess is. Okay, so we're getting down to the end of it. Tomorrow we will be back bright and early, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, broadcasting Monday through Friday. So you guys can kind of hang out while you're getting those job applications out, and listen to me talk about tech. So I track those job numbers. Just to wrap up, if you weren't there at the beginning, the latest 7 days, pretty flat, but still slight uptick. The last 6 months, nice trend line up, and I want to see that continue. Our average right now is still probably about 30% above where we were in the fall, in the late summer last year. So that's good. We want to see it heading, trending up, and then just the slightest of downtrends on the year. So that will start to tick up, I'm guessing, by the end of the year. We'll see. But we will be here Monday through Friday. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we will talk some tech more specifically, not in the general, but in the specific. So we're going to wrap it up here, but I will see you guys in 23 hours. So I appreciate your time, and let's go get that